Ajnanatimandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master has kind opened my eyes with the shining torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances to his lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So this week we're continuing our reading of Bhagavad Gita from the 10th chapter, entitled The Opulence of the Absolute, text number 22. So just to recap on 21, which we did last week, the two of us, I did some extra research because the verses of the Adityas, I am Vishnu, of lights, I am the radiant sun, of the Maruts, I am Marichi, and among the stars, I am the moon. So these are some of the ways that we can remember God in the material world, although, like I've been saying every time in this section, we're not able to directly see God. We're too contaminated, we're too materialistic, our vision. God's completely spiritual. And I mean, that's why even in the Muslim faith, right? Muslim religion, they say God has no form. And like that, even in Christianity, they don't like, deity worship because they think God doesn't have a material form. So that's correct. God doesn't have a material form, but he has a form, but it's spiritual. And because we don't have the vision to see a spiritual form like that, that's why we need to focus on these kind of alternative ways that we can perceive him in the material world. And that's through, we can perceive his energies, which are everywhere. And some of them are mentioned, the sun and the moon, the stars, so that we can see these things every day. We can see these every day. So the research I did was about the Adityas, and these are some of the original beings in the universe at the creation of the universe. There was some sages which were mental sons of Lord Brahma. So one of them's Kashyapa Muni. And Kashyapa, he is interesting that he is the father of both the group of demigods and the group of demons. So how has he got demons and demigods as sons? Because of a different wives. So one of his wives, Aditi, was the mother of all the demigods, and another one of Kashyapa's wives, Diti. So no A, there's Aditi and Diti. So Diti is the mother of the demons, but same husband, Kashyapa. So we just see how the mentality of the parents can affect the children. Now, generally, the mentality of the sons will be very closely aligned with the mother. And the mentality of the daughters will be very closely aligned with the father, like that. So because the mother was no good, Diti, she had a mode of ignorance, influence, demoniac, then her sons became demons. And whereas Aditi had a very divine mode of goodness, influence, so her sons became demigods. So anyway, so the mentioned 12 Adityas in the purport, Prabhupada says there are 12 Adityas. So that's the 12 sons of Aditi. Father Kashyapa, mother Aditi produce the 12 Adityas. And it says, of the Adityas, I am Vishnu. So one of those 12 was an incarnation of Vishnu, named, you would know, Vamanadeva. So Vamanadeva, he's Vishnu. So Indra had at one point, one of Aditi's other sons had got kicked out of the heavenly planets by Bali Maharaj, the head of the demons, who was actually a devotee, but he was the head of the demons. And Bali Maharaj kicked him out, and then Aditya Aditi prayed to Vishnu that you please help to get my sons, Indra and others, back into heaven. So as a result, Vishnu was pleased and said, soon I will appear and fulfill your desire. So he appeared as Vamanadev, like a dwarf incarnation. Vamana means like dwarf. So, and he begged, he begged charity from Bali Maharaj. The kings were generally very charitable, so any Brahmana can approach them, and the kings would give whatever charity they wanted. So, as appearing like a Brahmana and a brahmachari, then he approached Bali Maharaj and he asked for 3 steps of land. And Bali Maharaj thought that's quite ridiculous. I can give you a lot more than that. But no, Vamanadev said, no, that's all I want. All I want is 3 steps. But Bali Maharaj's guru, the guru of the demons, is Shukracharya, is very intelligent. He said, don't, to his disciple, Bali Maharaj, don't give. He's going to cheat you. This is Vishnu in disguise. If you give him something, he's going to take everything from you. So don't give. But he ignored the advice of his guru and thought, well, even if it's true that this is Vishnu, well, then I should give because Vishnu's God, and then it's my duty is to give to God. So even if he is God and he takes everything, I'll give it to him. It's my duty because I mean, his consciousness is actually like that of a devotee because actually he's the grandson of Bali Maharaj. So he's got devotee blood and runs in his veins because his grandfather's Prahlad Maharaj. So then with his first step, he covered the whole universe, for the top of the universe with his first step. With the second step, he broke through the covering of the universe to the current ocean, the causal ocean. And then he said, well, where am I going to put my third step? There's nowhere left to put it. And Bali Maharaj said, you can put it on my head. So that's when he conquered the Lord by his surrendering everything. And in the 9 processes of devotional service, the last one mentioned is Atmanivedanam, which means surrendering everything. So each process has a person that exemplifies that process. Like Shravanam, hearing, is the example given is Parikshit Maharaj. Kirtanam, the example is Shukadev Goswami. Like that for reciting the Bhagavatam and hearing the Bhagavatam. Like that. Remembering, the example is Prahlad Maharaj, because he was always remembering Vishnu, even when he was put through so many tribulations and trials, he was always remembering the Lord. So he's the great example to how we can always remember God in all circumstances. So anyway, Atmanivedanam, surrendering everything, Bali Maharaj is the example for that because he surrendered his wealth and his property and ultimately even his own body. It means even if the Lord put his foot on his head, means he could be squashed to a pancake. So basically I give you my body also. I've given you already more my property. Now I give you my body also. So everything is yours. So a great example for that. But Bali, the Lord didn't kill him. In fact, he gave him the best planet in the universe, which is known as Sutalaloka, which is lower down in the universe, but it's regarded as better than Swarga, better than heaven. So he lives there as Sutalaloka, and not only he lives in a wonderful place, but Vamanadev is also staying there with his devotee, Bali Maharaj, as like his butler. So because the devotee surrendered everything to the Lord, so the Lord also surrenders to the devotee. And that's love, that's love. So not only the devotee loves God, but God loves his devotee, and here God will do anything for his devotee. So he stands at Bali Maharaj's door like a butler, like a doorkeeper, even though he's God, but he's taken that service in that incarnation as Vamanadev. He's doing like that. So anyway, that's the one of the aditchas, Vishnu, who's known as, like I said, Vamanadev. Also, because he took the 3 steps, he's known as Trivikram. So whenever you read the name Trivikram, that's also a name of the Lord. Where Tri means three, and Kram means steps, 3 steps, like that. So he has many names. Vishnu is one of those names. So yeah. So one of the Adityas, like I mentioned, is Indra. So Vamanadev is the brother of Indra, like that. And from memory, I think Suryadev also was, he might be an Aditya also. He might be. I can't remember. But anyway, they're 12 important demigods. One of them is Vishnu himself. So that's the Adityas. And then the Maruts. Yeah.
Jayanti waiting in
Oh,
the lobby. I'll just admit her.
I know.
Or
How long has she been there? I was so
I don't
absorbed
know.
in.
I just saw that, so I don't know.
We'll ask her. Oh, Krishna.
No, her mic is off. There.
She's
How long?
invisible, unmanifest. Oh, Krishna. I think she is manifest. How long were you waiting in the queue for? Not long.
About 5 minutes.
I really Deepa saw you first. It's
I
dangerous
think-
to join partway through because I get absorbed in talking and then I don't see who's in line.
Yeah.
That's all right. Anyway, you made it in.
That's
We
all
were
right.
just
No, I was a bit late. I had to do some stuff and I'm still doing stuff. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to be
naughty,
bit,
naughty.
yeah.
We won't
But
punish you this time, but if you do it
it's
again,
getting
watch
really
out.
dark. So I have to put these clothes away.
They can wait. Clothes are not as important as hearing the
Close
scriptures.
the garage. Yeah. Anyway, I'm
That's all
not.
right. You're
I'm
not
just
going to
gonna-
run out of clothes. I know you all have suitcases full of clothes.
Anyway,
So,
I'm going to.
because we're having an interesting discussion about the Adityas, who the Adityas are and who the Maruts. Otherwise, you'll never know about the Adityas and the Maruts.
Yeah. Adityas. So who are the Adityas?
I'm going to tell you.
I'll read
Deepa
the
can tell you.
purport.
No,
Okay.
it's not in the purport. Not in the purport. They're the 12 sons of Aditi and Kashyapa. Demigods. They're all demigods. The Maruts is very interesting. The Maruts, they were actually originally the embryo in the womb of Diti. So the mother of the demons, Diti. Same father, Kashyapa.
Hmm.
So they were an embryo in the womb of Diti. And Indra was feeling insecure that these guys, or I mean, this whoever is going to come out of him, this demoniac wife, co-wife of his mother, co-mother, they can be competition for me. So he actually cut them up. He actually cut them up with his, I think, with his thunderbolt weapon, his Vajra. And he cut them into 49 pieces, thinking that that's it, that's going to finish them off. But they didn't die. They didn't die, and they came out, those became 49 sons of Diti, known as the Maruts. And they actually became great devotees of Indra. So even though the mother of the demons, they were born from there, but they became great assistants of Indra. We know that Indra, of course, is, as well as the god of heaven, he's also the controller of the rain. And we know the rain and the wind work together. So these are different winds, gods of different winds. So 49 different kinds of winds. So they work under Indra, these wind gods. And but yeah, they became great followers of Indra, even though Indra tried to kill them. Somehow they must have made up. I didn't read that, but yeah, that's how they became as 49. Actually, those sons of Diti, the mother of the demons, like that, having been chopped up by Indra. So that's an interesting.
What's also interesting is that Indra is always so what do you call insecure about his position, and he's actually always doing some mischief or the other. But yeah, it's like
Yeah.
how does he get away with it?
Yeah, because he has definitely some funny attributes, but he does great service also. Like he keeps the demons under control, and the whole universe would be chaos if the
Yeah.
demons just took over. So he's actually doing a great service because when it's time for battle, he's right at the front, which I wish we had any leaders in modern day society that did what he did.
Yeah, yeah.
They're right behind underneath the concrete bunker, and all the poor little guys are getting blown to bits. But it's not like that with Indra. He's right at the front, riding on his elephant Airavata with his Vajra. And sometimes he's mortally terrified, but he still does his duty. Like especially when he fought with the great demon Vitrasura.
Yeah.
Virtusora, he was completely terrified. He was shaking in his boots, but still he did it, because it's his duty like that. And so Krishna is obviously pleased with him that he's prepared to, keep the universe, a little bit and law and order, keep the law and order in the universe. Otherwise, the demons would be having a party if it wasn't for people like Indra. But he has qualities like he can be very lusty like that. He can be very envious and like that. So he does have what seems to be some negative qualities. So he's definitely not regarded as a pure devotee, but he's a devotee. He's a demigod, means he's a devotee of Vishnu, but with material desires. And that's the how you would describe demigods, that they're devotees of Vishnu, but with material desires. Well, we would distinguish that from a pure devotee, that a pure devotee is a servant of Vishnu also, but without material desires. So it's either you're a devotee with material desires or without material desires. And it's like generally, as long as you are with material desires, then you'll remain in the material world, but as a devotee, like in heavenly planets, for example. And if you were without material desires, then you'll go back to Godhead. But as long as you have material desires, well, Krishna knows what you want. Okay, you want a big position, you want power, you want fame. Okay, so he'll give you a body and a birth to fulfill those desires. So then you'll take birth as a demigod because, but you're a devotee, so you follow the laws of God. At least you try as much as you can. And then, but you still have desires, so Krishna fulfills that, gives you a position like that to fulfill those desires like that. But still, they're great souls because they're doing service for the Lord. But yeah, they're not free from desires. They have different material desires. And desire for power and position is a big one. And desire for sex enjoyment also is a big one. So you see often those kind of desires are manifest. They'll do anything to protect their position and their power. And sometimes they get attracted to beautiful women and so forth like that, and it gets them in trouble sometimes like that. But that's the result of having material desires like that.
Mm.
Anyone want to say anything about that before we
Well,
move
it just
on?
goes to show that you know, if people of that they're so much higher, they're so much more pious and everything, and they still have those kind of qualities. Where are we? We think, I mean, I can just speak of myself. Sometimes I think, oh, I'm very good, I'm not really desiring anything, but that's actually a false, that's also an illusion. You're thinking that, oh, you don't really have desires, but actually when you think very seriously, there are desires. Yeah.
Yeah. So, using that same example as the demigods, I would focus more on doing devotional service rather than focusing on that I have some material desires. Because the principle is that when you do devotional service, Krishna's going to be pleased and he'll purify your heart. He'll purify you of those desires. But if you don't do much service and you're all worried about all your desires, I can't do devotional service because I've got too many material desires like that, then that's going to stuff you up. You know, that's not the right approach. Don't think, oh, I'm not pure enough to serve God because I got so many lust and greed and anger and so forth. No, don't worry about that. God will deal with that. You just serve him with the current desires that you have. You continue your service, and the Lord will, being in your heart, will purify you and arrange to send, you know, a guru and that to help you and everything like that. So yeah, that's our process. You know, don't worry about whatever state of desires you have, but just do service. Just do service to the Lord, and he will clean your heart like that. Chaito darpana marjanam. And the best service is chanting for that, you know, the chanting, and it will help to purify our heart of whatever desires. So even if you're, you know, making a chanting with offenses and so forth, don't worry about that. Just keep chanting, and slowly the holy name will purify us of whatever the offenses are and everything like that. And it's mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, whether you are free of material desires, whether you desire liberation, or whether you are full of material desires, you know, everyone should worship the Lord with great determination like that. Akama, savakama va, moksakama, udaradahi, tavrena bhakti yogena, ujaita, purusa param, something like that. So yeah, with great, one should do bhakti yoga, you know, devotional service. With tevrena means with great force, like that. So very enthusiastically, with great determination, one should do some service for the Lord, and he'll sort out whatever our deficiencies are, like that. But don't let your mind, you know, cheat you, by Maya cheat you. Oh, I'm not good enough to do devotional service. I'm not pure enough, whatever like that. Oh, I'm not qualified, whatever. I'm too low. I'm too sinful. I'm too ignorant, whatever like that. That's Maya, you know, cheating us away from the treasure of pure love of God that we can get if we just do devotional
I
service.
didn't mean that. I didn't mean that. I'm that. Oh, because we are worse off than these demigods, then we shouldn't do devotional service. That's not what I was saying.
I know, but that could be a possible conclusion like that.
Okay.
So yeah, very important. Should hear the Krishna guitar rather than hang the washing. It's more important to hear about Krishna.
She's
You can do both at the same time.
Oh, that's good.
Continue the devotional service, yeah. So now we'll move on to today's verse, which is text 22. Hear about some more of Krishna's energies in the material world. Vedanam sama vedosmi.
Devanam asmi vasava indriyanam manasami utanam chetana.
Very good, very good. Like to read English, Deepa, Mataji?
Of the Vedas, I am the Samaveda. Of the demigods, I am Indra, the king of heaven. Of the senses, I am the mind. And in living beings, I am the living force. Consciousness.
So, originally there was one Veda, and as time went on, then Vyasadeva divided that one Veda into four. As time goes on, the good qualities in people deteriorate as you go from Satya Yuga down to Treta Yuga, down to Dwapara, now we're in Kali Yuga. So as time goes on, our ability to study and understand and remember knowledge and everything will reduce. So the Lord in his incarnation as Vyasadeva, he out of compassion for the living entities, he made it simplified and easier as time went on, like that, to understand the real philosophy, the Vedas. So yeah, originally one Veda, and then he divided it into four. So what are the four? That's the Sama Veda, which is mentioned here. Of the Vedas, I am the Sama Veda. So Sama, Rig Veda, Atharva Veda, and Yajur Veda, like that. So I haven't, of course, delved into those four Vedas because we just read Prabhupada's books. But apparently the Samaveda must have some really good stuff in it because Krishna's saying, I am the Samaveda. Of all the Vedas, I am the Samaveda, like that. So it must have some pretty good mantras in it. But yeah, I can do some more research about the Samaveda. But yeah, but out of the four Vedas, then it looks like the Samaveda is the best. So what Krishna's saying is in these different ways that we can remember him in the universe, he picks out the best in a particular category, like the best of the demigods is mentioned here, Indra. So of all, there's many demigods, but he's saying, I am Indra. Out of all the demigods, I am Indra. Actually, he's everything, but he's picking out the best in that category. So in that category of four Vedas, he's picked out the best one is the Samaveda. What makes it the best? I'd have to do more research about that. But it is the best. Krishna's picking that out as the best, like that. So we can remember that Krishna is the Samaveda. Because people are reading the Vedas, so we should remember that these Vedas, the Vedic knowledge is Krishna, it's God. It's God. This Bhagavad Gita, right, is also the Vedas. This actually, where does this Bhagavad Gita come into the Vedas? It's the main part of the Mahabharata. So this is the final one of the final literary works of Vyasadeva. As time went on, came into Kali Yuga, then he compiled the Mahabharata because he could understand that people are not cut out for hearing philosophy and so many things. So he wrote it in a story form, the Mahabharata, the story of Greater India. So everyone likes to listen to stories. Here's some stories, some story tales like that. So this is the greater history of the earth. And when we talk about Bharata, then normally people would be thinking about it as India. But actually, India used to be a lot greater than what it is today, even in recent times, right? Pakistan was chopped off one side, and then Bangladesh was chopped off the other side, like that. So it used to be big, a lot bigger. So the Maha means greater. So this is the history of Greater India, means pretty much the whole planet. If you go back 5,000 years ago, Bharat was like the whole planet was Bharat up to 5,000 years ago. And now Bharat, you could say Bharat is just India. But actually the Mahabharata is about more than just about the history of India. What we know is India now, but the history of the whole planet. And in the Bhagavad Gita, this war at Kurukshetra, the last 18 days, basically soldiers from all over the planet came there. They came from many different places, not just some soldiers in India were fighting, but they came from all over the planet to fight there in the Battle of Kurukshetra, like that. I think 64 crores, if I remember rightly, soldiers were died there in 18 days, 64 crores. So a crore is what?
Oh, it's a lot. I don't know how many zeros.
Is it 10 million? It's either 10 million or 100 million. 10 million,
It's
I think.
10 million.
10
10
million.
million.
Yeah. So 64, that means 640 million soldiers died in those 18 days. So they're from all over the world like that. So yeah, so this comes in the Mahabharata, this history of the earth really. And And the name Bharata actually comes from a great king, King Bharat. So this earth was named after, and going back in time, one great king. He was such a pious, good king that the whole planet was named after him. Before it was named Bharatavash, it was named after another great king, Ilavrita. So it used to be called Ilavritavarsha, and then it became, after Bharata, King Bharat, it became known as Bharatavarsha, like that. And this Mahabharata is the great history. So like that, that's where the Bhagavad Gita comes in there. And this Bhagavad Gita is the words of God. So when you're dealing with the Vedas, it's God. It's an incarnation of God in sound. It's incarnation of God in sound. And every single one of these mantras is a spiritual sound vibration. And it's not different than God, not different than God in the form of sound like that. So definitely when we hear about the Vedas, we can remember God. This is the words of God, like Bhagavad Gita. Gita means song, and Bhagavad means God. So this is the song of God, or the words of God. Previously, when they would speak, it wouldn't just be like now we're speaking in a monotonal kind of way. They'd be singing. Chintamani pakarasad masukalpa vriksha laksavatesu surabir abhipalayantam Lakshmi sahasra samasambrama sevyamanam Govinda Maripurusham tamaham bhajami. Like that, they would be singing like that. That was from the Brahma Samhita. So this is such beautiful musical words that they're non-different from God. So we should remember that every time we hear from the Vedas, this is God. We're hearing God in sound. This is God in sound, like that. And then mentioned of the demigods, I am Indra. So we've talked about that. So he was mentioned also previously, Adityas, I am Vishnu. So that's another one of the Adityas. Sons of Aditi is Indra. So yeah, he's the greatest of the demigods, the king of the demigods, the king of heaven. Yeah. Of senses, I am the mind. So what is that? Why mention the mind? Because that's the most important of the senses. And another interesting thing we can get from this, the mind is regarded as a sense. We shouldn't think that the mind isn't a sense. It's also a sense, but it's a subtle sense. You have gross physical senses. This means you have knowledge acquiring senses and working senses. So your knowledge acquiring senses, your eyes is one, then your nose is also giving you knowledge, and then your tongue, tasting, through tasting, you're getting some information, and your ears, that's the most important one, you're hearing, and then touch, sparsha, by touching, you're getting some information. Isn't that like a blind person, right? They do the braille, and just by them touching the braille, they can read, they can understand. So you can actually get information through your touch as well. And just by touching, you can feel, oh, this is a hard object, this is a soft thing, this is, like that. You can get knowledge also through touching, like that. So those are the 5 knowledge acquiring senses. And then you got 5 working senses. Your mouth is doing work, and your arms and your legs and your genitals and your anus. So those are the 5 working senses. And then the mind is the 11th sense. And that's the master. That's the master of all the senses, because whatever knowledge you get through your knowledge acquiring senses, some root form comes in, form goes in through your eyes, and taste through your mouth, and sound, shabda, through your ears, like that, sparsha through your fingers. That information, that knowledge goes into the mind. that knowledge goes through your gross physical senses into the subtle sense, the mind. So the mind is like the controller of all the senses, like that. And then the mind will process that information. And so what does the mind do? Thinking, feeling, and willing. So then thinking, feeling, and willing. And then after willing happens, then you're going to act on that. That after willing means, yeah, I want this. I want to, it's a hot day. I want to get that ice cream, chocolate chip ice cream. And then your legs are going to move and your arms are going to move. And, you know, you're going to actually get the ice cream and lick it and everything like that. So, but the mind is the central point. That's why in the whole yoga system, the central point is the mind. You have to control the mind because the mind controls the senses. So if you learn to control the mind, then you can control the senses. The way it works now is the senses have got out of control, and then and the mind is not able to control like that, and then so that we become victimized by that. And so such a person that's victimized by the senses and then the mind is called Godas, servant of the senses. And one who learns to control the mind is called Goswami, control the senses is called a Goswami. So Godas, go, because go means cow, of course, but it also go means senses. And like I said, the controller of the senses is the mind. But unfortunately, people are not educated, not trained how to control the mind and senses.
Why is Jane sitting in the lobby again?
Yeah, she was kicked out. She was kicked out, so now we've put her back in again.
Yeah, I got kicked out.
You're in and out like a yo-yo. You can't control your senses, obviously. Your mind is out of control. Anyway, good to have you back. But yeah, so the mind is very important. I was just hearing Prabhupada say in a lecture today, the mind is the cause of all our problems in the material world. Because of an uncontrolled mind. Huh?
The way, no, the what was coming to me is like how Krishna was the charioteer, the mind is actually the charioteer of us because it is determining where are we going and what are we doing, you know. It's the powerhouse.
Yeah, it's if you control the mind, like we can read that verse. If we look in the 6th chapter, text 7, I think it is, around that area, 6, 5, 6, 7, around that area. Krishna mentions if you control the mind, it's your best friend, and if not, it's your worst enemy. And like Prabhupada was saying today, you know, that all of our problems are because of the mind. People are not controlling their mind, and it's the worst enemy. Yeah, 6.5. 6.5 and 6.6.
One
You can
must
read those.
help himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. That's 5 and 6. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. And the mind is full of, the mind of humans. We can imagine, we can visualize, it's what I said. Yeah, which other living beings can't do. They're not able to imagine or visualize or what's that called? Kalpa. That's kalpa.
Yeah. Sankalpa and Vikalpa and accepting. That's another function of the mind, is accepting and rejecting. Accepting and rejecting things. I like this, I don't like this. You know, I like this. And it's going from one extreme to the other. I love you, I hate you, I like it hot, I don't like cold. So all this I like, I don't like, that means the mind. So whenever we're talking about that or thinking about that, that means the mind is working. I like this, I don't like this, like that. And how the mind gets us into trouble, like Prabhupada said today, it's the cause of all our problems, is when the mind's out of control, then if the goal of the mind becomes to enjoy sense gratification, and that's the main goal in modern human society, is just sense gratification. And that means, enjoy through the senses. So enjoy through the tongue and the genitals and so forth like that. See something nice, taste something nice, hear something nice, have nice sex, whatever like that. So through that uncontrolled mind is not controlled and the sense is not controlled, engaging in many sinful activities. Prabhupada today was talking about just they want to eat that little piece of meat. And because of that little piece of meat, they have to go down to hell and then take birth as an animal and so forth like that. And he was saying today about how does someone become how does a living entity get in the body of a pig? And he said because they got there because a soul that has no discrimination about what they're eating. Just eat anything. They'll just eat anything that's put before them. Not any discriminating, is this right to eat or wrong to eat. They just eat anything. No, discriminating means that's intelligence. So it's supposed to be more higher than the mind, then that's the intelligence. And more higher than the intelligence, that's the soul. So on the top of the pile is the soul, then next down intelligence, then the mind, then the senses. But in modern society, the senses are on top. They are running loose like wild horses. And the mind is actually, compared to the reins, supposed to control the horses with the reins. It's not able to control anymore the wild horses. And then the driver is compared to the intelligence. It's supposed to be giving direction. And the passenger is the soul. And that's the analogy of the chariot with the horses. That analogy is given to understand, help us understand that hierarchy of the soul and the intelligence and mind and so forth like that. And there's verses about that. I think it's in the third chapter, end of the third chapter. Third chapter. 36.
Arjuna said, O descendant of Vrisni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force?
So this is why we have to suffer, because engaging in these sinful acts. And so what is making one engage in sinful acts is even though we don't want to, but it's like something's forcing us to do something we know is wrong. And that's this uncontrolled mind, and one of the things that's in the mind is in the next verse, 37, where Krishna says there, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is lust only Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of the world. So Krishna is saying here it's lust is the main enemy, but where is the lust? The lust is in the mind, and it goes everywhere else from there as well. But yeah, this is our big enemy. And then if we look in text 40, no, where is it? 42. Text 42. The working senses are superior to dull matter. The mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind, and he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. So that's the hierarchy, how it's supposed to be. The soul is the highest, so we should dictate to the intelligence. Intelligence should dictate to the mind. Mind should dictate the senses. But without that Krishna consciousness, then it's usually the other way around. The senses are dictating. I want to taste this. I want to go there and dance and sing and party and all these kind of things. So it's like back to front. And that's, like Prabhupada was saying, the cause of all problems. And then because we're doing wrong actions, as soon as you do wrong actions, then there'll be some reaction to that, and that reaction is suffering, and that's what locks us into the material world. Like, no discrimination on eating, so you take birth after being punished in hell for a short period, then you end up taking the lowest species of life and so forth like that. So in that way we remain stuck in the material world through that uncontrolled mind and senses. And like I said, that's why in every yoga system, the foundational part of it is you have to control the mind and senses. And the different ways of doing that, and that's why you have different yoga systems. And that's why Lord Chaitanya said, the first thing he said, Chaito Darpana Marjanam. You have to cleanse the mind. You have to cleanse the mind. That's the very first thing. And our way of cleansing the mind is Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, is through this coming together and chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. This is the recommended process in Kali Yuga, most effective and best process to control the mind, purify the mind, is to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. This is especially recommended for Kali Yuga. And other processes are there, but not effective now. And the only one that's still effective now is this chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Previously in Satya Yuga, the process recommended was meditation, but no more. No, not possible anymore. And then in Treta Yuga, recommended was fire sacrifices, no more. And then in Dwapara Yuga, temple worship, no more. The only thing left that's fully effective is chanting the holy name of the Lord, and that will purify our mind. And when the mind is purified, then we can see ourselves. Otherwise, we're just completely in Maya, completely in illusion. Going back to that mind is the best friend and enemy. And chapter 6, we did 5 and 6. Now if we go chapter 6, text 7, then when you do control the mind, what happens? You do control the mind.
Conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same.
So I love this verse because it's far out. As soon as you control the mind, Jitatmana means control the mind. Prashantasya, become peaceful. You become peaceful. That's why we're so disturbed, is because the mind is out of control. This is the cause of all anxiety and disturbance, is uncontrolled mind. And there's some of the symptoms of what disturbs us is like this mentioned. Situsna, hot and cold. Sukha dukhesu, happiness and distress. Mana apamana, honor and dishonor. These are all things, if your mind is not controlled, it just disturbs you, takes away your peace. But as soon as you control the mind, you're not affected by those things anymore. And how is it that you're not affected by those things? Because if you do control your mind, then you can focus on Paramatma. You can immediately perceive God. The only reason why we can't perceive God is because our mind is searching externally for sense gratification. But as soon as you control your mind, you can turn your mind inwardly to connect with the Paramatma, the super soul in the heart. So as soon as we've connected with God, then you are free from all of these dualities, happiness and distress and heat and cold and so forth like that. And the only thing that prevents us from seeing God right now is our crazy mind is out of control. And we're looking for happiness outside of ourselves like that. But the devotee learns to find happiness from within himself and his relationship with God and his relationship with Krishna. And there's many verses about that, especially in the 5th chapter, how the devotee gets so much pleasure from his relationship with God. So let's look at that. I mean, nice verses here. Oh, yeah. Okay, 5th chapter text. 19. Whoever finds it can start reading. 19, 20, 21, 22. 23. 24. Oh, it's all good.
The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater.
Mm.
Hmm.
So it doesn't look like there's much equal there. They're all different forms. So, but what's
Mm.
equal? What's equal is the soul is within every single externally different form. The soul is the same part and parcel of God, and also God is there. So God is there. There's the same one God. There's one God, not many gods. One God in the heart of every living thing, and also a tiny soul, which is part and parcel of God. So that is the sameness, that's the oneness that the humble sage is seeing. And that's real knowledge. That's real knowledge, is to see that God is within every single living thing. So they don't care about their dress. What the dress is not important. Like what's important is my checkered shirt is important or the person inside the shirt important. No, the shirt's not important. It's the person that's important. So the real person is God is inside there. God is inside the elephant and the dog and the person. And also the eternal soul is there. So that's what's important and not the different dress. Someone's got a red dress, someone's got a blue dress, someone's got a purple dress. But it's the person that's important, not their dress. So that's, that's with a purified mind, one is able to see like that. Okay, next one, 19.
Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman.
Hmm. So as soon as you see like that, you just see God everywhere, then 100% you're not, when your body dies, you're not going to take birth again. You're not going to take birth again. So they're out of here. So they'll say they're already situated in Brahman. So they're already in the spiritual world. That is what spiritual life is. You just see God everywhere and you're always thinking about God, talking about God. You don't care about anything else. You don't see anything else. Everything, like I said, reminds you of God. You see the sun, you remember God. You see the moon, the stars, you remember God. You hear the Vedas, you remember God. Well, you're already in the spiritual world as soon as you achieve that state of mind. But it's just changing the mindset. Now, when we see anything, we think about sense gratification. Oh, I can enjoy this. I can enjoy that. I can enjoy this. So that mindset mentality needs to be reset, needs to be changed like that. And then as soon as you change it, then you see God in everything. Then you're out of here. Okay, next one, 20.
A person who neither rejoices. Am I reading the right one?
Yeah, correct.
A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant, nor laments about obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the signs of God, is already situated in transcendence.
That's what people always do, right? If you get something very pleasant, you're going to be happy, right? Wow, look, I got this really nice cake or something, or a ticket to Fiji or something like that. When you get something nice, I got a tax refund, tax rebate. Then you're going to get so happy. You get something enjoyable to the senses, you become so happy, right? Normally. And if something unpleasant happens, someone comes and says, "Oh, you look ugly" or something, then immediately you lament like that, or you lose some money or something like that. Immediately something unpleasant happens, you lament. So we oscillate between being happy when we get something nice and getting unhappy when we get something bad happens. But a person that's self-realized doesn't go through this process. They don't go from being very happy to very sad. They're always in equanimity, like it was mentioned. They're always feeling, peace and tranquility in their relationship with God. And they're not worried about these external things are always changing, good and bad and so forth, but they don't get caught up with that. They're internally connected with their relationship with the Lord like that.
Prasannatma.
Prashanatma, yeah. Happy soul. Okay, 21.
Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure or external objects, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme.
So that's the real happiness, is concentrating on God, concentrating on the Supreme. And the real happiness is unlimited. Now, the happiness we get from sense gratification, you get your extra money or you get some extra food or something like that. It's just limited. It's so limited. It has a beginning and an end, which is going to be in the next verse, that it all has a beginning and an end. But the spiritual happiness is unlimited. It has no beginning and no end. And that comes from our relationship with God, like that. So the advanced devotee is always in that trance-like state, always absorbed in his relationship with God. It doesn't mean you have to sit down under a tree and trance, not like that. But even when a devotee is working, he's working for God. Like Prabhupada mentions one place, when a devotee works in a factory, he doesn't actually identify with the factory, but he identifies that, he's working for God, like that. So even the devotees in the early days, Jayananda, he used to drive a taxi. Another one, Satsvarupa, used to work in some office job. But they didn't identify themselves with their jobs. They identified that they're, doing some work for God. And then they were so happy to do that because their consciousness was different. So it doesn't mean you just have to sit down under a tree and trance, but you can be in trance if you just change your consciousness that I'm a servant of God and everything I do is for the pleasure of God. And immediately that creates like this trance-like state. Doesn't matter what you do with your body, but you're always feeling pleasure knowing that you're giving service to the Lord, giving pleasure. to the Lord like that. Even externally, sometimes the devotee's body or mind might be enduring some hardship, some difficult situation, but internally he's feeling great pleasure, knowing that, Krishna's pleased by what I'm doing. Prabhupada sometimes engaged devotees in very difficult services. He sent devotees to Africa to preach, to China to preach, to Pakistan to preach, very difficult places. But those devotees, they became very enlivened that they were doing service for their spiritual master and for Krishna. And they were able to, function even though it was externally very difficult like that. Okay, next one, 22.
An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them.
So, Jayanti, why doesn't an intelligent person care very much for external sense pleasure?
Because they are absorbed in Krishna, so they're deriving all pleasure from Krishna, from Rama. They're getting the ultimate pleasure, Rama.
But in the beginning, even if you're not getting a lot of pleasure from your relationship with Krishna, then what can help you?
Association of devotees.
Yeah. But what can help you in terms of knowing the reality of sense gratification?
That is temporary.
Yeah, it's just temporary. It's just temporary. Even if you're not fully connected with God and you're getting that unlimited happiness from within, but at least in the beginning, even you just have a little bit of a brain and intelligence to understand that all these things in the material world, they're just so temporary, they have a beginning and end. That can help us to let go of that. That can help us to let go of that. Like Prabhupada was talking today about cigarettes. And he mentioned it even says it on the packet that it's injuring your health. But he said people are just so stupid that they can't give it up, even though it says it on the packet. And it's got a picture on the packet of someone's eyes, exploding and their heart exploding or something. But they're just so addicted to just that very short, temporary happiness. And they can't see that.
Immediate gratification.
It's that they want immediate, and they don't care about the long term. The long term is going to wreck their life. The immediate gratification is going to wreck our life in the long term. But they don't care about that. They're just so. And that's what Prabhupada also, I heard him say today. That's why I'm always calling them fools and rascals, because they're just so foolish. Why are you just going to destroy your future just to enjoy today, and you're going to completely destroy your future? That just doesn't make any sense, isn't it? It's just so unintelligent. But yeah, so this is talking about an intelligent person. So that's the first thing, is to become intelligent and understand. And then that's why the Vedas are so important. The Vedas is giving us knowledge about what's going to be good for our long-term happiness versus, for a short term like that. And so the Vedas is our only hope of becoming intelligent. Otherwise, everyone is going to remain foolish. But the only hope is, God is giving us the intelligence. We don't have any intelligence. We're just like animals, just wanting that immediate gratification. But through the Vedas, you know, God is giving us the intelligence. And I just heard Prabhupada say that today. He said that is the guru that gives us the intelligence. He said that's why we say Om Jnana Timrandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshu and Militam Yena Tasmai. That why do we offer respect to the guru? Because he opens our eyes. Because we're like blind. It means we're like ignorant. We're so ignorant and we're just chasing after these temporary pleasures that give us long-term suffering. But the guru is like forcing, he said, forcing our eyes open, forcing our eyes open so that, wow, yeah, no, this is going to make me suffer. I don't, you know, so that intelligence is given by the spiritual master to awaken us because we're sleeping in ignorance of Maya like that, just addicted to, you know, temporary gratification, which is causing us long-term bondage and suffering. So this is the Krishna's kindness that he sends the spiritual master, the devotees, to enlighten us and wake us up. It's amazing we you know, we can't see that, isn't it? You see the cigarette packet that's going to cause you to suffer, but you can understand that, you know, taking beer and drinking wine and, you know, even people know red meat causes heart attacks and so forth like that, and causes bowel cancer and so forth. So they can see that, but somehow they can't see it. And then there's verses about that pashyati, no, was it pashyati, na pashyati, that even though they can see, they have experience, but they can't see. And that's the power of Maya or illusion. That even though you have eyes and you can see and you're experiencing that sense gratification causes suffering, but you can't see it. You can't see it. Isn't that amazing? You think about that? We're experiencing how sense gratification is the cause of suffering, but we can't see it. That's crazy, isn't it?
The suffering comes straight away. It's not immediate. It's somewhere down the track. It's even the, you know, like to abstain and to see the benefits of restraining the senses or controlling the senses. We don't experience the benefits straight away. It's with faith and, you know, hope and whatever that, you know, you believe that it'll come, but it's like you don't feel it straight away. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think that's why a lot of people, like, they're just like yeah.
I mean, I think that people that came to the Bhakti Tree on a Friday night experienced it straight away. I mean, when I joined the Hare Krishna temple, I experienced it straight away. It doesn't have to be a delay. I mean, sometimes, you know, we might not
Even
be
evenings. I mean, the Fridays. There was a lot of sense gratification with the kirtanam and the, you know, and all the people and the food and everything. It was, so I would say the vast majority were there for the enjoyment.
Yeah, but it's not ordinary enjoyment anymore.
It's not ordinary enjoyment.
It's not ordinary. You can't.
And it's not just gratification.
They were not, you know, they were not coming because of
to please Krishna's senses. Yeah, that's agreed. But the reality is
for
that
them
the
to
enjoyment
enjoy on a Friday evening, you know, to have to unwind, to have a good, you know, time, and that was their motive.
Sure,
most
their
of
motive
the people,
was material,
if not all.
but their experience was spiritual. So their motive was material, but the actual the motivation, I agree, was material, but the
Mm.
actual experience was not material. The actual experience was spiritual. Because, like I said, they're hearing the Vedas, you know, Krishna's words, Krishna's names. They're tasting Krishna's food offered to Krishna. They're in front of Jagannath, you know, the deity form of Krishna. So although their motivation and their mind was material, but the actual experience, the happiness they felt was actually a spiritual happiness.
Mm. But that experience was incidental. It wasn't what drove them. That's what I'm. Hang on,
Mm.
where am I? Yeah,
Mm.
I lost you there. Yeah, but anyway, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, so I can hear you and see you. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, um,
And I heard Prabhupada talk about that today, you know, whether you whether you have knowledge about the medicine or have no knowledge, it's still going to have an effect. Whether you have knowledge about a fire or have no knowledge about a fire, it's still going to have an effect. It's going to burn you. So it's like with or without knowledge, you know, it will still have an effect. So even though, you know, they're coming there into that spiritual environment without any knowledge, but definitely it will still have the desired effect. That will give them a taste of spiritual happiness like that. And even though unknowingly they're coming into that, but and they don't even know what they're feeling exactly, what kind of feeling it is. They feel really good. They don't realize that it's actually a taste of spiritual life, you know, like that, a taste of the like
because
what
if
Tanya said,
if
that
they
the
were,
nectar for which we're always anxious.
if it was the kirtans and just that whole experience, then even now they should still be coming, but they don't. There's only just one or two of us who are there, not everyone else.
Mm.
um so because there isn't all the drums and the music and the all that, so people are not coming, you see, just purely for kirtans, like so so it's kind of, yeah, it was more for the whole Friday evening experience, like, oh, just somewhere like good time out, good people, nice company, and then that kind of
Mm.
thing. So
Mm.
they came for all of that
Mm.
incidentally, without them even being aware. Yes, they had the benefits of being there, but that doesn't even factor in their whatever, it doesn't factor in their awareness at all.
Mm.
Yeah,
Even I
so
didn't completely agree with that. I think even in the current scenario, if the people that were still in the bhakti tree, if their vibe was one of very much friendliness, people would still be coming.
yes, so it's the personal that experience that they're having. They
Because
don't know.
ultimately it's about people, you know. Ultimately, it's the people that are there who can actually make or break a place.
I
You know?
agree, that's true, but that's because they're not going from the people are not coming from the spiritual thing. We are attracting them based on the senses, the outward senses, attract them to come, and that attraction is not there. Therefore, everyone's just fallen off the wagon.
But the attraction was not. I'm saying that Krishna is not there. I'm
Pardon?
sorry. I'm sorry, but the way I look at it now is that Krishna is not there. That infusion of Krishna consciousness is not
Ah,
as much in the
I
devotee.
agree. Yes, I have had many
No.
conversations about that, but then not being received very well.
Mm.
In
Yeah.
fact, we are
Well,
all
I mean, Krishna's
excluded
Krishna's
from many
everywhere,
things.
but it's it's the devotee that can make Krishna accessible to people. And why did we give it the name Bhakti tree? So the Bhakti element is the main thing. Like I told everyone there when I was the manager that this isn't the business tree, it's the Bhakti tree. So the Bhakti is the main thing. Bhakti has to be there. And when Bhakti is there, then Krishna will manifest. And if Bhakti is not there, then you can't see him.
That's what I mean. It was more your essence, your energy, and that brought the people, and you made it such a
and then when the Bhakti is there, then you'll organize things very carefully and with intelligence. And actually, Prabhupada told my spiritual master personally, the main thing ISKCON needs to continue is organization and intelligence.
And also, I think if with proper organization and that intelligence, the other team members will also be in that same. I mean, they are also caught up in that Krishna consciousness mood. If the leader is that way, then the followers will also have that, making the place more attractive. And the thing is, the people that are coming there may not be coming specifically for Krishna. They are coming to enjoy themselves, like you're saying, right? But Krishna's there, even though they don't know that. Krishna's there.
Not anymore. You took him with you. You took him to Takahue.
No, he's still there. He's just unmanifest, that's all.
Yeah, he's there. But what I'm saying is, with the people coming there, like there were cases of people who were coming, but they couldn't step in, right? So they were coming with the idea that, they want to come for a night of enjoyment, or they know about Kirtan, so they're coming for Kirtan, but they can't just step in. There were cases like that too, right? But ultimately, it's like, I mean, irrespective of whatever motivation brought them to the Bhakti tree, they were still being spiritualized, whether they liked it or not,
Definitely. Yeah.
And that's possible only if the people there are going to be very disciplined in their service,
The devotees.
But disciplined, devotees, but not disciplined without heart, disciplined with heart.
But I mean, you're preaching to the wrong audience. I'm not at all involved, so
no.
But I'm just
no,
saying,
I was just addressing your point why I brought it up about how it doesn't have to be a delayed experience that you feel the benefits. Sometimes it is delayed also, but it can be immediate that we get lifted up to the feeling of spiritual bliss and happiness.
But they are attracted based on their external senses. And then they are incidentally receiving benefits of it, which then later down they might notice or not, and I would say later down they notice, because there are many who often, like if I see them, just bump into them on the street or wherever, and they say, oh, it's a pity we don't have those Friday nights anymore, or something like that, they might say. I said, well, we do have kirtans on the Thursday, but nobody comes. You see, and even those who used to come, I mean, Gail and Bhaktimala and everybody else, nobody comes. They don't come either. You see, so it's, Bob and Helen and whatever, or everybody, Rob and all, I mean, nobody comes. So it's very, very, it's only the one or two who come, just like, and that's
Krishna has a plan. Krishna has a plan.
So
but even in the beginning, like I said, even in the beginning, even if we're not experiencing that unlimited happiness from our relationship with Krishna within, then at least we should have enough intelligence through the mercy of the hearing from the Guru that, you know, temporary, I mean, external material enjoyment is just temporary, has a beginning and an end. And that will help us to let go of that. Because as long as we're running after this temporary external pleasure, then that is going to agitate our mind. And when the mind's agitated, then yeah, it really cuts us off from Krishna like that. So it's very important, at least that much to do. But the main thing, like I said, to help us get these senses under control is to give the senses some positive engagement in Krishna's service. And like I said, even if we have material desires or whatever, that's not necessarily a big stumbling block, but we need to keep ourselves busy in devotional service. So you do some chant, some japa, and then you do a bit of reading, and then you cook some food and offer it to Krishna, and then you go and go out and do some gardening for Krishna, and then you go and make some money for Krishna to pay Krishna's bills. Because the devotee's whole mentality is like that, right? It's not my house. So am I paying the bills for my house? No. I'm paying the bills for Krishna's house like that. So then everything becomes Krishnized like that. So the sooner we can do that, Krishnaize our whole, spiritualize everything in our life. Yeah, and I'm looking after my kids. No, they're not my kids. They're Krishna's kids, so you're looking after Krishna's devotees. You're serving Krishna's devotees. So, I'm looking after my parents. No, they're not my parents. They're Krishna's devotees like that. So, like that is just changing the consciousness, and that will help us to control the mind and senses like that. So that's very important. Always having some positive, like Prabhupada said, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. So, you can't stop activity. All we can do is change it to a selfish activity, to activity for Krishna. And that's what makes us Krishna conscious like that. It's through that.
Can I ask a question? Yeah. Might not be anything related to this, but I'm just curious. I have been for a while. For instance, we all know Janmashtami, and it's celebrated everywhere, all around the world, and all that. However, like with when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was here, incarnate of Krishna, he was in the mood of Radharani, and
yeah,
and when he was propagating the Sankirtan and all that, this Yuga Dharma, but there is not that much of awareness or acknowledgement of that, except in ISKCON, right? Other than ISKCON, others are just only very peripherally aware, and I was just curious and wondering about that. I know
peripherally aware of. Are you talking about Janmashtami?
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and him having been, here and about the bhakti and the Yuga Dharma, chanting and congregational chanting and all that. Yeah.
But you're saying that, and your understanding that the congregational chanting is just within ISKCON, or were you talking about Janmashtami?
No, I'm just saying, like Janmashtami, everyone knows about.
Janmashtami, everyone knows. Okay. But the chanting,
somehow with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was doing, that it's not so much infused within the I guess the Vedic or whatever, the whole that whole thing. Yeah.
It's not so much in the Hindu society.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah.
Because see,
But it
but
is.
not just ISKCON though, it's the whole Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition knows about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it's more than ISKCON.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah.
But I mean, of course, Deepa probably hasn't met many Gaudiya Vaishnavas outside of ISKCON. So, but there are other followers of Lord Chaitanya outside of ISKCON, but not so widespread as ISKCON. But there are other ones, and then even outside of Gaudiya Vaishnavas, there are other sampradayas, 3 other sampradayas, and they'll also be chanting mantras. But maybe not exactly always the Hare Krishna mantra. They might chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya and different things like that. So they'll have other mantras, but they're all worshipping Vishnu or some form of Vishnu or Krishna like that. So they're all Vaishnava. Vaishnava means servant of Vishnu. So there's 4 different main camps of followers of Vishnu. So we're one of the 4. But they'll all be worshipping Vishnu in different ways. But some of them will emphasize, more on the deity worship or different mantras and things. But, because we're followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then the Hare Krishna mantra is very prominent.
But then like Madhvacharya, he was, I mean, in his sampradaya, they do recognize Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as well. So,
Because
the
there's not. I mean, I haven't heard this. About chanting and all that. That's from. I mean, Srila Prabhupada and his mission, and but like for instance, what's his name? Vikash is from a different sampradaya. He doesn't. He says, "Oh, we don't do any 16 rounds or anything. We just do whatever."
Yeah, they won't. Yeah.
That kind of thing, which is fine. I mean, I understand. Okay, different sampradaya, so different guru. Yeah,
but
it's like
a bona fide sampradaya is the question. Because there are many people that think their sampradaya is bona fide, but there are actually only 4 bona fide sampradayas.
yeah. But yeah, then I heard
But
somebody
however,
was I mean, they talk about like I just heard it somewhat like some like it was mentioned the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his what do you call it, the kirtans and like it was mentioned very casually. So I was like just wondering, like I was thinking like just wondering
that's
like
the influence of
how
Kali
does it
Yuga.
all
That's the influence of Kali Yuga and Maya, because the process for Kali Yuga, the Yuga Dharma, in order process to get liberation, to get out of the material world, is Hari Nam Sankirtan. You can say you're from whatever, you follow whatever line or the succession process. You can say whatever you like, but if you're not doing some form of Harinam Sankirtan in Kali Yuga, you're not going to get out of here. You can do as much fire sacrifices and temple worship or stand on your head, press your nose or whatever, but give charity and do austerities. But if you're not doing Harinam Sankirtan in Kali Yuga, you're not going to get out of here. That's just from the Vedas. I mean, the Vedas saying that. That is the recommended process. And Lord Chaitanya is the Yuga avatar for Kali Yuga. He's the Kali Yuga avatar, and he is teaching that Yuga Dharma by his example himself, like that. So it's not just relevant to a few Gaudiya Vaishnavas, it's relevant to every human being. Every human being needs to be taught that Yuga Dharma if they want to get out of here. Unless they want to become a pig and a dog and a cockroach in their next life or whatever, then they need to be taught that process. And so followers of Lord Chaitanya, following in his example, his mood, always trying to share that with others. And that's why we set up the Bhakti tree, to give others a chance to, at least once in their life, to hear the holy name of the Lord, Harinam. And even that hearing that once in their life can save them, at least give them another human life in the next life to chant again like that. So even if they're not chanting continuously, but at least once in their life, everyone needs to hear the holy name of the Lord. It's going to give great benefit to them like that. But yeah, it's not just, oh, there's a few Hare Krishnas that like chanting Hare Krishna. Whether you like it or not, this is the process for Kali Yuga, mentioned in the Vedas like that. So Durga, who's the controller of the whole material world, she said herself, and it's recorded in the Vedas, that anyone that doesn't chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in Kali Yuga is not going to get out of the material world. She says it for hundreds of kalpas. They're going to be locked up in the material world if they don't. If they're a human being in Kali Yuga that doesn't chant the Harinam, she's going to keep them in the material world for hundreds of kalpas. One kalpa is 4.32 million years times by 1,000. That's one kalpa. And she said hundreds of kalpas. And she said that when she appeared to Haridas Thakur 500 years ago. She was so impressed that that he didn't get deviated from his chanting, even though she appeared to him in her most beautiful form. He didn't get victimized by her allurements. And she mentioned it there that anyone that doesn't chant the Maha Mantra in Kali Yuga is going to remain here for hundreds of kalpas. So yeah, it's not just a thing for a few Gaudiya Vaishnavas feel like chanting and it's all good for them. No, but it's good for everyone. It's important for everyone like that to chant the holy name of the Lord. But even if they're not chanting exactly the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, but they should be chanting some names of God, Harinam. So it doesn't necessarily have to be only the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. That is the best. That's why it's called Maha Mantra. It's the greatest. But even if one's chanting some other recognized name of God, and Prabhupada said that, that if you know some other name of God, but you can't make up a name of God, but if it is an authorized name of God in someone's religion, then and you chant that, that's also good. But yeah, that is the process to come together and chant God's names in Kali Yuga.
Was funny.
But of all of God's names, the name Krishna is the supreme. That is the best. And it's mentioned in I think Vishnu Sahasranam or somewhere that
one name
if
of
you chant 1,000 names of Vishnu is equal to one name of Ram. And if you chant Ram's name 3 times is equal to one name, Krishna. So, and if you go to these other things, saying Jehovah or Allah or whatever, that's not even going to be equal to a name of Vishnu. So that's even going to be more down the line like that. Or if you just say God or something. But, so there's different potencies. Different names of God have different potencies. Vishnu is the name of God and Ram is the name of God and Krishna is the name of God, but it's not the same potency. They have different potencies like that. Some are much more powerful and effective than others like that.
Today I went for a walk and there was a Muslim man and he had beads in his hand and
very
he
good.
saying so nice, yeah. And then he looked at me and he said, "Good morning." And I was like, yeah, good morning,
Yeah, I mean Ben has beads also, but he used to chant the Muslim chanting. It's not the Krishna Maha Mantra, yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's
Yeah. And my uncle who's passed away now, also he was always chanting, but it was a Catholic thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now
So
we
it's not just
we should always encourage people to sing the names of God and whatever names they know. If they don't know a name of God, well, we can tell them one name is Krishna, but if they say they know some names of God, okay, you say those names, that's okay, no problem, that's good. But if they don't know a name of God, well, we can tell them, Hare Krishna, like that. So okay, so that was our time for the day. And like just finishing off this verse, text 22, it says of the senses I am the mind. So that means that's the most, as I said, the most important of all the things. Krishna says I am that. So of all the Vedas, I am Samaveda. Of the demigods, I am Indra. Of the senses, I am the mind. So the mind is the most important of all the senses. So Krishna says, I am the mind. So that's one of his energies. The mind is his energy, and that's the most important out of all the senses. And the living beings, I am the living force. So the consciousness. And the consciousness comes from the soul. So everyone knows that within the body is consciousness. Everyone knows that if you drop a rock on your foot, you're going to go, ow, so you're conscious. But what they don't know, where does the consciousness come from? Of course, scientists or whatever says it comes from chemicals or whatever. But actually, it doesn't come from chemicals. Consciousness is the symptom of the soul. That is the symptom that you can know that the soul is there. How do you know there's a soul in the body? Because of consciousness, because there's an awareness there. Once the soul leaves the body, what do we call that? Dead. You can drop a boulder on the person's body and you're not going to get any owl, like that, because the soul's gone. So consciousness comes from the soul. And the same way that we've said, even if you can't see the sun in the sky because of some clouds are there, how do you know the sun is there? By the presence of the sunlight. So just like light and heat is the symptom that the sun is there, even though you can't see it. So even though you can't see the soul, but the symptom is consciousness. That's how you know it's there. That's the symptom. So, and Chris is saying here that I am that. I am that living force. So the soul is actually part of Krishna. So in one sense, it is Krishna. So even though, we're a spirit soul, right? And we're also Krishna. It's not wrong in one sense to say I am Krishna. But in quality, we're Krishna, but not in quantity. So we're part of Krishna. We're Krishna's energy. So it's not wrong to say, I am Krishna, but not we're fully Krishna, but we are part and parcel with Krishna also. So Krishna says, I am the soul. I am the soul. So without Krishna's existing, we don't exist, doesn't it? Without Krishna existing, the mind doesn't exist. Without Krishna, there's no Indra. Without Krishna, there's no sun, there's no moon, there's no sky. You got it. So everything comes from Krishna. So in one sense, everything is Krishna. But having said that, Krishna's still separate from everything. He's in the spiritual world playing his flute, but yeah, everything is resting on him, as he says, as pearls are strung on a thread. So everything is depending on him, just like these neck beads. If I pull the string out of this kantimala, all the beads are going to fall out. So everything's resting on him like that.
I just wanted to make
reconciliation between Krishna. I know you've said like Shiva is Krishna's devotee, but Shiva is also seen as God in a lot of circles. And then the Brahman, so it's quite confusing. It's very confusing. There's Brahman, there's Shiva, then there's Krishna.
Yeah, Brahman
and
Brahman
then
is
like,
the light.
How
Brahman
does it
is the
all
light
join,
that comes from Krishna's body. That's the Brahma Jyoti. The Brahman is the Brahma Jyoti. So that's the light that comes from Krishna's body, and that illuminates everything in the spiritual material world. Even the sunlight, where does it get its energy from? Is also that Brahma Jyoti coming from Krishna into the material world through that sun, like that. So Brahman means the Brahma Jyoti, the spiritual light. And Shiva is, yeah, like you say, he's a great devotee, but he's not an ordinary living entity. He's nearly on the same level as God. He's not God though, but he's nearly on the same level. He's even has a greater position than Lord Brahma, the first created being in the universe. And the example given in the Brahma Samhita is that Shiva is like yogurt and Krishna is like milk. So just like the only difference between yogurt and milk is a yogurt's made up only of milk, but with a sour agent added. But in one way, in one sense, it's not nothing other than milk. But in another sense, it's different than milk. It's still not milk. You know what I'm saying? Yogurt's not milk. No one would say that yogurt is milk. But in another sense, yogurt is only made up of milk. So just with that sour agent. So there's a slight difference, just like the slight difference between yogurt and milk. So yeah, Shiva's compared to yogurt and Krishna's compared to milk in the Brahma Samhita, like that. But the proper understanding is that we should respect Lord Shiva because he is a great devotee. He's known as Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. He's a great Vaishnava. He's the greatest of Vaishnavas. Lord Shiva is a great devotee. So any other Vaishnava should have great respect for him. But we see him as a Vaishnava, not as God. He's a great devotee of God, and he has great powers given to him by God. But he's still, and he himself, what does he think? He thinks of himself as a devotee of God. That's very important. He doesn't think of himself as God. He thinks of himself as a servant of God, like that. So we also should think of him in the same way. Otherwise, he won't be happy. And you want to get his ashirvad, his blessings, but you're not going to get his blessings if you understand him in the wrong way, like that. Actually, Krishna's devotees are more dear to Lord Shiva than his own devotees because they see him in the proper way, like that. If a Shaivite is seeing him as God, he's not going to be as pleased with them as he would by a Vaishnava who's seeing him as a servant of Vishnu, servant of God, like that. He himself is a great devotee of Sankarshan. So Sankarshan is one expansion of Balaram, expansion of Krishna. So that's his Istadev. His Istadev, his Lord Shiva's Istadev, worshipful deity, is Sankarshan. Even you can see in one of Shiva's hands, he has the Rudraksha. So he's also chanting. So that means he's a devotee of somebody. Because if you're chanting on beads, it means you're worshipping someone, right? Immediately, if you see someone with beads in their hands, immediately that tells you he's worshipping somebody. So Shiva is also worshipping with his Rudraksha. He's chanting mantras to his Istadeva, Sankarshan, like that. Krishna doesn't have any beads in his hand. He's not worshipping anybody like that. Although sometimes he does carry beads to count the cows. But that's his love for his cows. Yeah, he's not worshipping them like that. But yeah.
Hey,
So
Vyasadeva composed the Vedas. I mean, there's that discussion between him and Narada, right? That because he's feeling very morose, and then Narada encourages him to
Srimad Bhagavatam.
write this Bhagavatam. So the Srimad Bhagavatam actually came out only after because that's part of the Puranas as well.
Yeah, but that was the final one. He did all the rest of the Puranas, and he also did the Mahabharata. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam is the last one after even the Mahabharata, which is the last before.
So that would mean, because modern way they've dated this different Vedas as, like, the Rig Veda is concern as the first Veda, and then followed by the Atharva Veda, Yajur Veda, and the Sama Veda actually came last. So, and the Sama Vedas dated like 1200 to 1000
That's
BCE.
rubbish. Who cares what they say? These are mental speculators.
But
They
anyhow,
have no idea.
talking about why
The Bhagavatam was written 5,000 years ago. That was the last. So that means all the Vedas and that was done before that. Was done before 5,000 years ago. And the Mahabharata was 5,000 years ago. So the Bhagavatam was the last one, and that was done 5,000 years ago. So all these the Vedas were done well before then.
because but the Bhagavatam and the Mahabharata, actually Vyasa wrote as it was happening, right? As
No,
it was.
he wrote it that Ganesh actually wrote it. That's why Ganesh has one broken tusk.
No,
He was Vyasadeva was speaking and Ganesh was writing it down.
I
And
mean,
the
I mean,
condition Ganesh gave is that
just
when I
saying that.
start writing,
Oh God.
you have to continue to the end.
I'm not talking about all that. I know that. What I'm asking
Mm.
is, it happened as the things were taking place. Vyasa was seeing it and he was dictating. That's how it was scribed.
No, well, I mean, Narada Muni chastised him and instructed him to write a book
Bharata.
purely. Narada Muni chastised Vyasadeva's disciple, instructed him to write a text just glorifying the Lord only and nothing else. And then under that inspiration, then he did it.
I'm talking
Exactly when it happened, who cares? It doesn't matter.
about the Mahabharata.
Hmm.
I'm not talking about the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Oh, you just were talking about the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, now you've skipped to something else.
But you're not listening.
Okay.
Listening. Anyway, so speaking of why Krishna said that he's Samaveda, you there?
Yeah. Yeah, what are you trying to say?
No, I'm not trying to say anything. I don't understand why you are just being so attacking. But anyway, I'm just saying that Samaveda is the Vedic text where it's the basis of the whole classical music, like Indian classical music comes from there. And the whole way of reciting the Samaveda is just through like music. You have to follow certain um, meters, and that's how you recite them. I mean, why Krishna chose it as his favorite, I'm not sure. But anyway, I mean, not that he said it was his favorite, he said that was him.
Yeah, which is indicating it's the most important of the four. In each category, Krishna's saying which is the most important one. He is that. Like of
Interesting.
all the
The Upanishads also, I mean, the Chandogya Upanishad and the Kena Upanishad are part of the Samaveda. Samaveda, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Very nice to get together with you all once again.
Okay. Nice to see you, Deepa.
Sorry to ask,